Good day to each and every one of us. I'm Jocel Ortega from Bisad 3B, and today I will be going to discuss the relationship between work, force, and distance. I will define each meaning and give an example. So, without further ado, let's get started. In physics, work is defined as the result of a force moving an object a certain distance. Displacement is the distance and directions an object is moved. Force and work have an inverse relationship, while force and displacement are indirectly proportional. We all know that the equation showing the relationship is work is equals to force multiplied by displacement in the directions of the force. When we say work in physics, it is a measure of energy transfer that occurs when an object is moved over a distance by an external force, at least part of which is applied in the directions of the displacements. So, an example of work, a girl carrying a heavy load on her head and moving on a level road does no work against gravity. It because there is no component of displacement in the directions of the force of gravity. So, the SI unit of work is Newton metre or Nm or joule. So, 1 joule of work is done when a body moves through a distance of 1 meter under a force of 1 Newton in the directions of the force. Next, so let's proceed to the force. When we say force in physics, a force is an influence that can change the motions of an object. A force can cause an object which a mass to change the velocity to accelerate. Force can be described intuitively as a push or a pull. A force of both magnitude and direction making a vector quantity. So, an example of force without motions. When the force is exerted on an object that does not move, no work is done on the object. When pagka naman, ang pinag-uusapan ay F force perpendicular to the motion, it's constant velocity. When an object is carried out at constant velocity by a force which acts at the right angles to the motions, no work is done on the object. So, last but not least is the distance. Distance is the measure of how ground an object has covered during its motion, while displacement refers to the measures of how far out of place an object is. So, as you can see in the illustrations, let's consider a football coach pacing back and forth along the sidelines. The diagram below shows several of the coach positions at various times. A coach, make at each mark position, the coach makes a U-turn and moves in the opposite directions. In other words, the coach moves from position A to B to C to D. So the question is, what is the coach resulting displacement and distance of a travel? So the answer is, the coach covers a distance of 35 yards plus 20 yards plus 40 yards, which equals 95 yards and has a displacement of 55 yards. So that will be all. Thank you and God bless everyone.